I stood on the warped porch of my cliffside cabin, the Pacific wind cutting across my face when I saw him. My father. His figure wavered at the edge of the gravel path, an envelope trembling in his hands like it carried redemption. $15,000, he said. Your fresh start. But a fresh start doesn't come wrapped in deception. It doesn't come tied to a forged deed, one that rips away the only thing my mother left me. I pressed the brass key against my chest, its weight a vow. He thought he'd outsmarted me, but I was about to unravel his lie. The cabin perched above the Oregon coast, pine walls scarred by years of salt and storms. It wasn't just a building. It was my mother's sanctuary, her hand-stitched curtains, her driftwood shelves, her laughter lingering in the seashell chimes above the window. She left it to me when she passed. I was 29 then, and I swore to protect it. For 4 years, I poured myself into that promise, patching the roof, sanding the deck, polishing the oil lamps that glowed against winter storms. It became my haven, the only place she still felt alive. But my father, Martin, was a different story. He was a storm in human form, reckless, restless. After she died, his texts came from dim bars and roadside motels, his words slurred with gin and excuses. Just a couple hundred, Daniel. I'll pay you back, and I always wired the money, believing I could keep him afloat, believing wrong. The visit started next, his aftershave sharp as diesel, stories about investments, boats, crypto schemes that never existed, and the way he stared at my mother's sketches by the hearth. It wasn't nostalgia. It was calculation. I began hiding the deed in a lockbox under the floorboards, the key strung tight around my neck, because in his eyes I saw hunger. One evening, my friend Marcus sent a message that made my chest cave in. Daniel, I overheard something at the docks. Martin's been bragging, said the cabin's already sold, said you signed the contract without even knowing my blood turned to ice. He was gambling my home, the last piece of her, like it was a barroom joke. By dawn, I was in Seaside, sitting in a cedar-scented office across from an attorney named Rebecca. I laid out everything, his debts, his lies, the warning Marcus had overheard. Her expression hardened. He's filed a forged transfer of title. If we don't act, he could sell the cabin by Friday. The world tilted. My father wasn't just drowning. He was dragging me under with him. Rebecca moved quickly. She filed alerts at the county office, a legal snare to block his false paperwork. She drafted a trust. I signed every page, sealing the cabin under my name for life. Walking out of her office, the damp air hit me like a baptism. I was done being his lifeline, but I needed more than protection. I needed proof. I rigged the cabin with motion sensors tucked under the eaves, their faint hum, my silent allies. 3 days later, Martin texted, smooth like oil on water. Dinner? Let's toast to new horizons. My treat, I agreed. The brass key seared against my chest. The bistro glowed with lantern light, the Pacific black and endless beyond the glass. He raised a whiskey, smirk wide. To your freedom, son. No more dragging that rotting place. I sold it. $3 million. Done deal. That 15 grand. Your clean slate. His words were hooks, barbed and cruel. He thought arrogance was armor. I let him ramble, sipping coffee, watching him drown in his own lies. My phone buzzed under the table. Marcus again. He's meeting the buyer tonight. Some shady guy out of Newport. Rebecca had already traced it. A shell account. Another of Martin's gambling buddies. The deal was smoke, and I was ready with fire. The air thickened. Every clink of his spoon against porcelain pushed me closer to snapping. I wanted to slam the table, demand how he could gut me like this. Instead, I smiled, silent, sharpened, and then Rebecca walked in. Perfect timing. She slid into the seat beside me, calm as stone. Martin's smirk faltered. She waited until the dishes were cleared before striking. Martin, I stopped by the county office yesterday. Strange thing. A title transfer in your name. Forged. The glass froze in his hand. His face twisted. Shock, rage, panic. He hadn't seen the trap. He hadn't seen me move the board. Rebecca slid a folder across the table. The cabin is sealed in trust, legally untouchable. Your forged title, void. Your buyer? A ghost tied to your gambling debts. The funds never existed. His bravado collapsed. You can't do this, he snarled, clawing at the papers like they burned. That cabin was mine. I paid the bills when your mother was sick. I rebuilt that porch. She stole it from me, gave it to you. The truth ripped through me. This wasn't about money. He'd never accepted her will. To him, my inheritance was theft, and he'd crafted a lie where I was the villain, not the son. I leaned in, voice steady but blazing. You tried to erase her. Tried to erase me. You bragged about it in a tavern. But the cabin isn't yours to steal. For the first time, he looked small, cornered. Rebecca's voice cut the air clean. Fraud, forgery, theft by deception. The DA could press charges tomorrow, or you start restitution now. Your choice. The silence that followed was suffocating. He had gambled on my silence, but I'd rewritten the story. That night I drove back along the coast. The ocean stretched silver beneath the moon. The key around my neck felt lighter. Martin would repay what he owed, dollar by dollar, under the court's shadow. Counseling, probation, a legal wall he could never scale. It wasn't forgiveness, it was survival. I stood on the deck, salt air filling my lungs. The cabin was mine, safe, untouchable. But so was the scar of a father who chose greed over blood. I framed the title and the trust papers side by side, a monument to what I had defended, and a reminder of what I had lost. But as I bolted the door that night, one question burned like a brand. Had I built a stronghold or a prison? If you were me, standing here with the truth searing your hands, would you forgive him or would you walk away forever? Thanks for watching.